3 insane bad friend horror stories. Revealed at 3 a.m. You'll never trust again. The clock struck 3, and shrill laughter cut through the moonlit silence like a blade. It was the witching hour, the time when secrets skitter in the dark and truth twists into nightmare. In a quiet little town that seemed like any other, 3 chilling tales were about to unfold, weaving a tapestry of betrayal and horror that would haunt the souls of those who dare to listen. Chris, a kind-hearted soul, discovered his so-called friend Aaron wasn't what he seemed. Just the day before, they had been laughing over coffee, planning their weekend camping trip. But in the darkness of night, Chris found something monstrous hiding behind Aaron's facade. A hidden stash of stolen identities, names, addresses, all paired with grinning selfies of him with those unaware victims. Chris's stomach knotted as a cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Could he really trust anyone anymore? His heart raced, thudding against his chest like wild drums as Aaron's voice echoed in his mind, casual and taunting. Meanwhile, across town, Sarah sat wide-eyed, scrolling through her phone, her breath hitching with every new notification. 2 weeks ago, she had confided in her best friend about her budding romance with Tom. But here was Tom's profile on social media, tagged in photos with her best friend, laughing and whispering as if she were nothing to him. A lump formed in her throat. It felt like ice water coursed through her veins. Was it all a game? And what was worse, who would she tell? It felt like the walls were closing in, each flickering light of her device casting ghostly shadows on her bedroom walls. Dread settled in. Marvin sat in his car, parked in front of the local diner, his palms clammy around the steering wheel. His mind raced with ominous thoughts. His friend Jake had been acting strange lately, whispering about secrets that should never be spilled. Tonight, he got a message that sent chills down Marvin's spine. Jake warned him that he had seen people following him. "You won't believe the truth," Jake had said, sounding frantic. Marvin couldn't ignore the felt presence, the way the shadows around the diner crept closer, almost alive. The hairs on his neck pricked as he gazed into the rearview mirror, scanning for threats. It was clear. Trust had become currency in this dark game of friendship. With each revelation, each betrayal, the stakes grew higher. Would Chris confront Aaron about what he had found? Would Sarah confront her best friend about the deception? And what truth awaited Marvin at the diner, cloaked in shadows and silence? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream shattered the tense night, and hearts raced at the sound of chaos. Something terrible was about to happen, that much was certain. Would they find out the truth before it was too late? Or would their friendships lead them into a web of horror they could never escape? The answers waited, gripping the edge of darkness, ready to leap into the light. The scream still echoed in the air, sharp and piercing, a warning bell that shattered the night's fragile peace. Chris jolted upright, his heart pounding like a war drum. He glanced at his phone, the screen illuminating his pale face, a time that seemed to mock him. 3:02 a.m. There was no denying it. Something was off. As he stepped out into the cool night, the fresh air didn't bring clarity. It thickened the darkness around him. He could feel the weight of secrets and lies pressing against his chest, constricting, suffocating. Aaron was still inside, but Chris's mind reeled with the shocking images of those stolen identities. If he confronted Aaron, would his friend become dangerous? Trust was obsolete now, replaced only with the instinct to survive. Just then, across town, Sarah threw her phone against the wall, shattering the glass with a sickening crack. Tears streamed down her face as the reality settled in. Her best friend had betrayed her in the most public way possible. Her body ached with the betrayal, a visceral pain curling deep in her stomach. She had never thought that someone she loved could toy with her feelings like that. The room spun around her as she paced, desperately trying to push the haunting images of Tom and her backstabbing friend out of her mind. She grabbed her jacket and rushed out into the night, propelled by a wave of anger mixed with desperation. If she could at least confront them, she could restore some sense of control. As she drove toward the diner where Jake had warned Marvin, the headlights carved through the inky darkness. Each flicker of light felt like a turning knife, reminding her of the betrayal that played out like a twisted script in her life. In the diner, Marvin felt an icy grip on his heart. He could no longer sit in the car, unmoving. Jake was not just missing. He was a walking target. Already, thoughts of what would happen if it were him lurking in the shadows sent chills racing down his spine. What if the threats were real? Taking a deep breath, he pushed the door open, the bell above tinkling eerily. Inside, the diner was empty, the remnants of a late-night meal scattered across tables like abandoned stories. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, but the atmosphere felt dead. "Jake?" he called, his voice hollow. Silence loomed around him, thick and suffocating until he heard a soft shuffle from the back. "Marvin, you made it." Jake's voice came from the shadows, strained and breathless. His face was pale, eyes wide with a terror that screamed louder than words. "You need to listen. I'm in deep, and they're coming for me. We don't have much time." Marvin's heart raced, fueling the fear that pinned him down. "Who is coming for you?" he demanded, taking a step closer. Before Jake could answer, the door swung open violently, rattling on its hinges. In walked two figures, cloaked in shadows, their faces obscured but their presence suffocating. The air thickened with menace, every instinct screaming that they were not there for coffee. Marvin's grip on reality slipped as he took a step back, panic coursing through him. His mind was racing. Were they there for Jake? For him? Or was this the darker side of friendship emerging in a violent crescendo? "Run!" Jake screamed just as the figures lunged forward. In a split second, everything spiraled. As Chris closed in on Aaron's house, Sarah's confrontation loomed ahead, and Marvin's heart hammered against the encroaching shadows of the diner, each moment threaded together by a horrifying thread of fate. What truth would emerge among the chaos waiting in the darkness? Would they all find themselves ensnared in a web of betrayal? The clock ticked mercilessly, each second intensifying the terror of what was to come. Marvin's heart was a runaway train, pounding against his ribs as he stumbled backward, dread washing over him like icy rain. The figures advanced, shrouded in darkness, their intentions as obscured as their faces. Adrenaline surged through him, a wildfire igniting his instincts. "Get down," he shouted, throwing himself to the floor, using the last ounce of clarity in his mind to drop low. His body hit the slick tiles with a painful thud, but he had no time to feel it. The two figures lunged, shadows merging into a single chaotic mass. Jake was still standing, caught somewhere between fight and flight. Marvin's heart sank as one of the figures reached for him, its hand quick and purposeful. Marvin pulled himself behind a table, the metal cold against his skin. "Jake!" he gasped, desperation clawing at him. "Run!" He edged his head above the table, and in that split second, the diner erupted. Jake darted to the side, trying to escape, but the figures moved like predators, fluid and relentless. The force of the chaos in that moment seemed surreal, yet here it was, raw and fierce. One figure caught Jake by the collar, dragging him to his feet. Panic flooded Marvin's veins. He could see Jake's face twist in horror, his mouth opening to protest, to plead. The other figure flicked a knife in the air, catching the light, its cold gleam flashing dread into Marvin's eyes. "Don't!" Marvin shouted, fear exploding into a frenzied shout that reverberated through the empty diner. The noise echoed back, mocking him as it waned. Suddenly, the door swung open again, this time with a ferocity that sent a shockwave of uncertainty surging through the room. Sarah burst in, breathless and furious, her eyes ablaze. "Let him go," she screamed, charging forward as if she could wrestle fate itself. The figures turned, momentarily distracted, allowing Marvin just enough time to surge forward. He slammed his shoulder against the figure holding Jake, knocking it off balance. Jake tumbled forward, free from the grip, but the second figure whipped around, its knife now poised at Marvin's throat. "Who the hell are you?" it hissed, each word dripping with a sneer. Marvin could barely breathe, the blade pressing dangerously close. Just let us go," he managed, his voice trembling. Sarah was panting, her expression shifting from fury to panic as she took in the situation. "What is happening?" she gasped, eyes darting. "Why are you here?" Before Marvin could answer, the first figure recovered and slammed a fist into Marvin's side. He doubled over, pain exploding through him like fireworks. "Enough questions." The masked figure growled, and as Marvin staggered back, a primal instinct kicked in. The weight of survival flooded his senses. He glanced at Jake, desperate but resolute. "Now," Marvin shouted, and in a split second, they all lunged at the assailants. Chaos erupted in the diner, tables flipping and dishes crashing as bodies collided. Fear surged, thick and heavy, the kind of fear that stitches itself into your very soul. In the midst of the turmoil, Chris stood paralyzed outside Aaron's house. He felt the echoes of Marvin's scream reverberate deep within him. He fought to quell his rising panic. He could still turn back, just go home. But he didn't move. Inside the diner, fists flew, and the air turned electric with rage and terror. The very walls felt alive with the tension wrapping around each body. But in the madness, both figures suddenly stopped. They exchanged glances, a knowing silence passing between them. Then the first figure pulled a phone from its pocket, and a chime of an incoming message filled the air, slicing through the chaos like an immovable wall. "Finished here," one of them said, backing away. "We have what we need." Marvin's heart sank as they slid out, leaving a trail of confusion and fear in their wake. What had just happened? Why had they come? The unease bloomed, the shuddering of their night crawling unsettlingly into their bones. Did they take something? Jake breathed, his voice a whisper of panic. Marvin shook his head, looking for an answer that wasn't he there. No, I don't think so. But what do they want? What are they involved in? As they caught their breath, the question twisted in the silence around them, more ominous now than it had been before. Outside, Chris felt every pulse of uncertainty deepen, fruitless thoughts knotting in his mind. He had to know. Whatever twisted game fate was playing, he couldn't turn his back on it any longer. What had they stumbled into, and could any of them make it out alive? The looming shadows felt sinister, as if the night had only just begun to paint their destinies with fear. Marvin's breath came in ragged gasps, the diner's air thick with a lingering sense of dread. He barely registered the tremors of his body as he leaned against the battered table, trying to process the fleeing figure's final words. Jake and Sarah flanked him, their faces pale, wide eyes reflecting the horror of what they had witnessed. "What the hell just happened?" Jake muttered, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "They didn't take anything, but it felt like they were hunting us." "More than that," Sarah added, her voice trembling as she scanned the room, as if expecting the masked figures to reappear at any moment. "Why were they after us? What did we do?" Marvin's mind raced, thoughts colliding. Maybe we didn't do anything. Maybe we were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Panic clawed at his throat, but their momentary silence spoke volumes. They all felt it, the weight of something bigger lurking just beneath the surface of their normal lives. A loud crash suddenly erupted from the back of the diner, snapping their focus. They turned in unison, hearts racing again, pooling dread rising in their chests. Marvin motioned for the others to stay low, creeping towards the noise, each step careful and deliberate as they reached the kitchen entrance. The flickering fluorescent lights cast eerie shadows. Through the small window, they could make out a figure, hunched and frantically rifling through the drawers. A chill ran down Marvin's spine. "Is that one of them?" he whispered, fear lacing his voice. "Let us not take any chances," Sarah murmured, gripping a spatula tightly like a weapon. But as they edged closer, the figure turned, and relief flooded them when they recognized the familiar face. It was Aaron, their friend. He looked wild-eyed, disheveled, as if he had fallen down a rabbit hole of panic. "Guys, thank God you're here," he shouted, rushing toward them. "I was trying to find you in the chaos. You won't believe what I just heard. What are you even doing here?" Jake snapped, his voice laced with the last remnants of adrenaline. "We were just attacked." "I know. But listen," Aaron replied, a frantic energy coursing through him. "They're not just after any of us. Someone put a target on Marvin's back." Marvin blinked, disbelief washing over him. "What? Why?" Aaron leaned in closer, almost conspiratorial. "There's something about the accident. It's tied to some big players. Something dangerous." I overheard them talking about you, about how you've seen something you shouldn't have. Marvin's heart raced again, a deep sense of foreboding tightening around him. What do you mean seen? I was just driving home when it's bigger than that. Aaron interrupted, urgency spilling from him. You need to get out of here. They're coming for you, and I don't think they're finished. Just then, the diner's front door slammed open, and they all turned toward the sound, dread pooling once more in their stomachs. Dark silhouettes stood against the harsh light spilling in from outside. Aaron's eyes widened. We have to go? Now. Marvin's instincts kicked in, his heart the only sound piercing through the turmoil around him. They needed to move, to escape, but where would they go? Follow my lead, he shouted, adrenaline surging again as the figures advanced menacingly. They darted towards the kitchen's exit, hope threading through their panic. But just before they could disappear through the back, a familiar face peered around the corner, a face they had thought would never come back. Marvin, I need to talk to you. Sarah gasped. Cody? His old friend stood there, desperate and drawn, the secrets of 1,000 tragedies lurking just beneath his surface. What do you want? Marvin snapped, but beneath his dread was a flicker of curiosity. Cody shook his head, stepping forward cautiously. It's not safe, and what you found out. They're watching everything. Marvin felt a chill creep down his spine. The shadows had deepened, and things were spiraling far beyond anything he could grasp. What had he gotten himself into? And how deep did this rabbit hole go? As the tension thickened between them, Marvin realized there were forces at play he couldn't yet understand, and time was running out. What would Cody reveal that could change everything? Cody's eyes flickered nervously toward the door, the fear etched on his face as palpable as the tension in the air. Marvin clenched his jaw. What do you mean they're watching everything? Every move you make, Marvin, Cody replied, his voice strained. You're in deeper than you realize. The accident, it opened a door, and now they want to shut it permanently. Marvin heard footsteps outside, closer now. The shadows grew longer, and he felt time slip through his fingers. Who wants to shut it? Who is they? Jake stepped up, shadows of defiance creeping into his expression. We don't have time for riddles. If they're coming for us, we need to know what we're up against. Cody hesitated, weighing the gravity of his choices. I was part of it, all of it. I saw what happened the night of the accident too. I thought I could walk away, but his voice trailed off, trembling. But they don't let anyone go. Marvin's mind raced, trying to grasp the implications. You mean the masked figures? They were part of this? Yes. Cody growled, urgency rising. They're not just after you for something you did. It's about what you witnessed, something they're desperate to keep hidden. Why didn't you tell us sooner? Sarah snapped, her patience wearing thin. Because I didn't think it was real. Cody shouted back, frustration spilling over. I wish it wasn't but I found myself in a web, and I had to run until now. Another loud smash echoed through the diner, plates and silverware clanging to the floor. A collective inhale cut through them as they froze, fear creeping in again. Time seemed to stretch, every second hanging with uncertainty. Listen, Cody finally said, his tone softening. If we don't leave now, we may not get another chance. They're probably already inside. I can help you help all of us, but only if you trust me. Marvin felt a wave of anger wash over him. Trust you? After everything? Cody bowed his head, shoulders slumping under the weight of the question. I know I don't expect you to, but this isn't just about us anymore. It's about your life. A door slammed at the far end of the diner, interrupting their deliberation. The sound sent a jolt of panic through Marvin. He turned to the others, heart racing as adrenaline flooded his veins. What do we do? We have to move, Jake urged, grabbing Marvin's arm and pulling him toward the kitchen exit. Now. But Cody didn't budge. Wait. I know a place, an old cabin on the outskirt of town. It's safe for now. We can regroup there. Marvin glanced back at the door, shadows gliding ominously just beyond it. Tom was slipping away. If it's our only option, then let us go, Sarah said, purpose igniting within her, her facade of fear cracking under the weight of resolve. Suddenly, another loud crash shattered their resolve as a figure burst into the kitchen, silhouetted in the harsh light. The mask hid their features, but the malevolent presence was unmistakable. The air thickened, swirling with tension and fear as they took a step forward, advancing. We don't have time to think, Marvin shouted, lunging for the door. Everyone now? In a frantic rush, They dashed past the figure and out into the night, breaths synchronized with pounding hearts. The chill of the evening air smacked against their faces, a stark contrast to the oppressive heat of the diner. They sprinted down the back alley, shadows flickering behind them like the ghosts of their pasts. Each step echoed, filled with the weight of uncertainty and fear of what lay ahead. Marvin felt the urgency, the stakes rising higher as they rushed into an unknown future. What if we're just running toward more danger? Jake gasped, trying to catch his breath. Then we fight back, Marvin replied, his voice steady, carrying a flicker of determination. The whispered horrors loomed close. Behind them, the figures stepped into the light of the diner, their form powerful and intimidating. There was no going back. As they reached the edge of the alley, the darkness deepened, and Marvin's heart raced with each frantic beat. He couldn't shake off the feeling that danger was not just behind them, but closing in from every direction. The woods loomed ahead, dark and silent, a place filled with secrets. What is waiting for us out there? Sarah asked, breathing heavily, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. The wind howled through the trees, a haunting reminder of the danger lurking just out of sight. Only one way to find out, Cody said, his voice low and wary, as shadows danced around them. As they plunged into the depths of the forest, Marvin couldn't help but wonder, was running really the answer, or just another way to run into a trap laid by unseen hands? What awaited them in that suffocating darkness? Could they confront the dangerous players in this twisted game without becoming the next victims? The forest swallowed them whole, branches snatching at their clothes, the chill running deep beneath their skin. Shadows shifted like whispered secrets, each snap of twigs a reminder that they were not alone. Cody led the way, his steps quick but careful, scanning the dark ahead as he ventured deeper into the trees. Marvin kept pace, heart thumping loudly in his chest, ringing through his ears like an ominous drum. Where exactly are we headed? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper, as if speaking too loudly might awaken whatever pursued them. Just a bit further, Cody replied, urgency coloring his tone. The cabin, it's hidden. They want to find us there. Sarah lagged behind, glancing over her shoulder, the weight of dread pulling at her heels. I hope you're right. I can't shake the feeling that we're walking into a trap. Better than sitting still, Jake shot back, narrowly avoiding a low-hanging branch. At least we're doing something. The adrenaline coursing through them masked their exhaustion, but Marvin felt the burn creeping up his legs. He stole glances at Cody, who seemed to know more than he was letting on. What did you see that night in the diner? Why are they after you? Cody's jaw clenched tightly, but he glanced back, the streetlights that had been their guide now long gone. There's more to the accident. A deal went wrong, a deal that involves all of us. I didn't just witness what happened, I was part of it. And now they want to fix that mistake. Great, Marvin muttered, bitterness mixing with fear. That doesn't exactly instill confidence. A chilling rustle echoed from behind, and their pace quickened with dread. Each brush of wind seemed to carry whispers, taunting them, and Marvin felt the hairs on his neck stand on end. We have to keep moving. Finally, they stumbled upon the cabin, its form half hidden by thick overgrowth, almost as if nature was shielding it from prying eyes. But as they approached, Cody's demeanor shifted. The urgency on his face hardened, anxiety radiating from every pore. Stay close, he urged, pushing the door open. It creaked ominously, revealing a dim interior shrouded in dust and shadows. The air was stale, thick with the smell of decay. They filed inside, cautiously scanning their surroundings. Old furniture lay strewn about, and the remnants of past lives scattered like forgotten dreams. Looks like a horror movie in here, Jake quipped, trying to cut through the heavy atmosphere. Cody moved to the dusty windows, peering out into the inky blackness. We need to secure the place. If they find us. Who are we dealing with? Sarah's voice cracked, fear spilling over into panic. They're not just anyone. They have eyes everywhere. Cody turned to face them, desperation etched across his features. They can be anyone. The people we trust, the faces we know. It's all a game to them. Marvin felt the cold grip of dread close around his heart. So what is the plan? We hide and wait to be found. No, Cody said, resolve breaking through his uncertainty. We need to go back, find out exactly what they want, and stop this before it's too late. Before it swallows us whole. Suddenly, a low thud came from outside, echoing against the cabin walls like a death knell, and Marvin turned to look at Cody. Are they already here? Cody's face paled, eyes wide. We're not safe. Not yet. Not while I still carry this burden. Marvin's throat tightened, disbelief clawing at him. You mean to tell me that we might have to confront them? No way. We can't walk into a trap willingly. Cody's lips pressed into a thin line. We don't have a choice. Every second we waste, we're giving them a chance to close the net around us. If we want to survive, we must take the fight to them. The wind howled, a feral cry through the trees, as urgency hung thick in the air. In that moment, Marvin realized, perhaps too late, that there was no turning back. Then let us figure out what we need to do to take them down, he said, heart pounding with both fear and daring. This ends tonight, or it doesn't end at all. And just as the adrenaline surged, the door rattled violently, sending a shockwave of panic through their veins. Get ready, Cody shouted, his voice blending with the growing storm outside. Marvin's breath hitched, terror coiling in his gut. Who could it be? As they crowded closer to the door, a grating voice sliced through the darkness. We know you're in there. It's time to come out and play. Fear and uncertainty clenched in Marvin's chest. What games were about to unfold? Would they be the hunters or the hunted? And in that moment, as the door started to buckle, he wondered how far they were willing to go and what they'd lose along the way. Marvin's chest tightened, his heart racing as the door trembled under the weight of unseen forces. Shadows from the flickering cabin light danced ominously on the walls, mirroring the chaos that stirred within him. What now? He hissed, panic spilling over as he edged closer to Cody. Get back! Cody barked, taking a step forward as an intense determination replaced his previous dread. We can't let them breach the door. Sarah, eyes wide with terror, grabbed Jake's arm. What if it's too late? We should find another way out. No, Cody shouted, urgency crackling in his voice. We stand our ground. We cannot show weakness. If we let them think we're afraid, he trailed off, unspoken implications hanging heavy in the air. The door rattled violently again. A voice, cold and mocking, called from the other side. Come on, let us make this easy for everyone. You know we just want to talk. Marvin's throat felt dry. Talk. This was no friendly visit. Talk led to something far worse. His mind raced, searching for any kind of a distraction. What if we barricade the door? It'll buy us a little time. Cody glanced around the cabin, and his eyes landed on an old, rickety table. Good idea. Help me. They dashed toward it, shoving the table against the door as it rattled again. Splintering wood echoing through the night. A sudden crash outside sent chills racing down Marvin's spine, as the other side seemed to shift with vehemence. Stop wasting your time, kids. We have all night. The voice crackled through the wood, dripping with malice. This isn't just about you anymore, Cody. Marvin snapped, the weight of fear spilling over. You brought us into this madness. We didn't sign up to be hunted. Cody turned sharply, fear and anger burning in his eyes. I didn't choose this, but I want to let them take you. I have to fix my mistakes. The door shook violently again, the strain of their makeshift barricade wobbling under the onslaught. Sarah pressed closer to Cody, desperation etched on her face. How do we stop them? I can't lose everyone here. Marvin felt swell of protectiveness. He glanced toward the small window. Maybe we could slip through there? If we can get out and run, we'll have a chance. Jake shook his head vehemently. We can't just leave you. He squeezed Sarah's hand like a lifeline, eyes darting toward the door, listening for a crack in the cacophony. But this isn't going to hold. We have to act fast. With a sudden burst, there was a crack, and Marvin's stomach dropped as splinters flew from the door's frame. They're getting in. Fear coiled tight in his chest like a steel trap. Cody, Sarah cried. What did you do that night? What did you get us into? The terrified silence that followed was palpable, hanging heavy and thick like fog. Cody's face blanched, the weight of his secrets threatening to crush him. I made a deal. A terrible one, and now they're here to collect. What do you mean collect? Jake pressed, voice trembling. What does that even mean for us? Cody's gaze flicked to the door, panic clouding his features. I don't know, but it's bad. We have to suddenly. The door swung open, a blinding flash visible in the darkness as cold, cruel laughter filled the air. A figure, cloaked in shadow, stepped inside, eyes glinting with wicked delight. Ah, there you are. Let the games begin. Marvin froze, the full weight of dread crashing down. What kind of game was this? As the figure advanced, malicious intent brimming in every movement, Marvin felt the icy rush of hopelessness. They were out of time. The games had started, and the stakes were higher than they ever imagined. Run! Cody shouted, and in that split second, they all turned to bolt for the back of the cabin. But Marvin wasn't too sure they'd escape this time. What did Cody bring into their lives, and how deep would they have to dig to emerge from the horror? The panic surged as they stumbled into the unknown, the truth darkening every heartbeat. Could they truly outrun the shadows of betrayal closing in around them? Marvin tore through the cabin, feet pounding on the wooden floor, his heartbeat thundering in his ears like a war drum. The chilling laughter faded behind him, but the dread it carried lingered in the air, thick and suffocating. Cody, Sarah, and Jake were close behind, fear-fueled adrenaline pushing them through the darkened hallway. Where to? Sarah gasped, the knuckles on her hands white as she clutched Jake's arm. Panic glimmered in her eyes like a dying ember. Cody pointed toward an old door at the far end of the corridor. There, we might find something useful in the back shed. With each frantic step, hope flickered, but doubts clawed at Marvin's mind. Would they even make it that far? Outside, the night swallowed everything, the pressure building like an impending storm that as they neared the door, the shadows around them seemed to pulse. The figure from the cabin loomed just behind, the sound of its laughter blending with the rush of wind. Marvin's stomach twisted. The voice echoed in his head, a sinister reminder. Let the games begin faster. Cody shouted, his voice slicing through the chaos. Marvin felt a pang of loyalty that cut deeper than the terror gnawing at him. Cody had led them here, unleashed whatever darkness was chasing them. But now, they were in this together. There was no time for blame. They burst through the door into the misty night, the moon a dim beacon overhead. The cool air hit Marvin's face like a refreshing slap, but the freedom was merely an illusion. They stumbled forward, breathless. Where's the shed? Jake yelled, trying to keep the panic out of his voice. Over there, by the trees. Cody pointed as they reached the edge of the clearing. Shadows loomed in the underbrush, branches twisting like skeletal fingers. They tore toward the dim outline, Marvin's heart racing as he felt the presence creeping closer. The shed stood crooked and weathered, a relic of forgotten days. As they reached it, Cody yanked the door open. It creaked ominously, sending shivers racing down Marvin's spine. Inside, darkness draped across old tools and rusted machinery, the air thick with dust. Quick, look for something, Cody urged, urgency slicing through the stillness. They swept through the shadowy interior, Marvin's hands trembling as he rifled through old crate screwdrivers, a rusted saw, nothing that felt safe against the nightmare hunting them. He bit his lip, every moment ticking by like a bomb about to explode. Jake found an old flashlight, flicking it on. The beam cut through the gloom, revealing an array of forgotten things, but their importance dwindled in the face of the figure pursuing them. Suddenly, another crash echoed from outside. The door of the cabin slammed against the wall, and their pursuer's laughter swelled with feral delight. It's coming, Sarah shouted, her voice rising above the rumble of impending doom. Over here. Jake pointed to a trapdoor at the corner of the shed. Marvin could feel his heart pound in his ears, the noise almost drowned out by the growing chaos outside. The idea of hiding was fraught with desperation. Together, they flung the trapdoor open, and the smell of damp earth hit their noses. The darkness below was an abyss, a promise of safety or a deeper danger. Cody's eyes met Marvin's, eyes wide and pleading. We have to go down. Now. A chill ran down Marvin's spine, but they had no choice. As he descended into the darkness, a freezing gust rushed up, wrapping around him like icy hands. The trapdoor slammed shut above them, plunging them into suffocating blackness. What if it's a mistake? Marvin whispered, fear creeping into his thoughts. Quit it. We'll find a way out, Cody snapped, but the tremor in his voice betrayed his own uncertainty as they edged forward, the silence pressed in tight. With every step, Marvin felt the weight of all their fears swirling uncertainty, betrayal, dread. Then he heard it again, a whisper, creeping and insidious, echoing through the darkness. You can't escape the games. Marvin's heart froze. The game was far from over, and the rules had yet to reveal their true horror. What waited for them in the shadows below, and would they emerge from this living nightmare together or as fuel for the dark games to come? The darkness loomed, and a dreadful thought clawed its way into his mind. Was it simply a figment of his fear, or something sinister lurking right beside them? The cold earth beneath Marvin's feet felt alive, shifting with each small step deeper into the pitch-black space. His breath came in short, ragged bursts as he tried to silence the rising tide of panic. Even standing still, the air felt as heavy as lead. Flashlight. Cody's hoarse whisper broke through the suffocating silence. Jake's grip tightened around the old flashlight. He flicked it back on, the beam shaky but illuminating just enough to reveal the contours of a dirt-walled space. Old crates and broken tools were strewn about like remnants of a long-forgotten battle. Fear pooled in Marvin's gut. What lay hidden beneath this ancient earth? Keep it steady, Sarah urged, her voice trembling but laced with a fragile thread of bravery. They needed to stay focused. Cody moved first, scanning the area with a fervor. We need to find something useful. Anything. His desperation was palpable, fueling the urgency in the cramped space. Marvin's heart raced as he rifled through the crates, his fingers trembling. Muffled laughter from above sent a shudder through him. It was a taunting reminder that they were not alone. Fear wrapped around him like a vice, tightening with every passing second. Suddenly, a skittering noise echoed in the dark, and Marvin whipped around, the beam of the flashlight trembling in his hands. The shadows around them seemed to twitch with life. What was that? He hissed, his throat dry. I don't know, but we should move, Sarah whispered, her voice strained. The collective dread hung heavily between them. Cody crouched beside a stack of old crates, his expression fierce. There has to be something. Think. We can't let it catch us. Another crash reverberated through the shed, chilling Marvin to his core. The laughter above grew louder, more manic, as if the figure found joy in their fear. They were playing a game, and the rules were clear. Fear and chaos reigned supreme. Let us check this corner, Jake urged, shoving aside mud-caked boxes and revealing an old metal toolbox. Marvin's pulse quickened. Maybe this was the answer they needed, something to fight back. Together, they pulled it into the light, anxious hands rummaging through rusted wrenches and broken bits of metal. Anything? Sarah asked, peering over Jake's shoulder. Just junk, Marvin muttered, the disappointment heavy in his chest. It felt like time was slipping through their fingers like sand. Then suddenly, an echoing thud sounded from above. The trapdoor began to rattle, and breathless shadows loomed over them. The laughter transformed into a low growl, sending shivers crawling down Marvin's spine. We gotta get out of here. Cody slammed the toolbox shut, adrenaline bursting forth. As if summoned by their distress, the whispers returned, surrounding them, wrapping around their senses. No escape, the games continue. The sinister voice twisted through the darkness, mixing with the pounding in Marvin's chest. Forward, Cody ordered. They had to break free from this nightmare. We can't go back. They'll find us. With shaking hands, they pushed into the only path before them, hoping desperately it wouldn't lead deeper into the bowels of hell. The flashlight's beam flickered ominously, casting long shadows that danced and writhed. Marvin felt like prey being hunted, desperately fighting off the feeling of despair creeping in. He glanced back at Sarah and Jake, their faces streaked with anxiety. But then, just as they rounded the corner, the ground gave way beneath them, an unseen drop, a pit that seemed to beckon them into its depths. What the? Cody shouted, but it was too late. They stumbled, falling hard onto a rocky ledge below, breath knocked out of them. Marvin's heart raced anew. Was this the end? Or was this just another level in their twisted game? As they lay gasping in the dark, a whisper floated through the air again, more enticing than before. Welcome to my realm. With dread pooling in the pit of his stomach, Marvin's eyes darted around. What had they awakened? What lay ahead? And would they be able to survive the next round of this unholy game? The edges of the darkness started to close inwards, and he felt a new chill. And at that moment, the realization sank in. Perhaps each choice they made only intensified the game they'd become unwilling players in. Would they find a way out or fall prey to the very terror they'd tried to escape? Marvin lay on the rocky ledge, gasping for breath as panic coursed through him. Shadows danced in the darkness. He could feel the chilling grip of something sinister lurking just beyond the reach of the flashlight's beam. Cody, Sarah, and Jake scrambled to regain their footing, hearts racing, as if every heartbeat was a countdown to something terrible. "We have to move. Now," Cody shouted, urgency driving his words. He hoisted himself off the ground, eyes darting, urging the others to follow. As they banded together again, a low, mocking laughter echoed through the dark void. It reverberated off the walls like music sung by the damned. "What is that?" Sarah's voice quivered, a mixture of fear and disbelief spilling forth. Marvin felt her grip on his arm tighten like a lifeline. "It's them," he whispered, dread pooling in the pit of his stomach. "They must have followed us down." Panic morphed into instinct. They turned sharply into the darkness, desperate to put distance between them and whatever was chasing them. Each footfall echoed in the eerie silence, a reminder of how far into this nightmare they'd gone. Suddenly, the beam of Jake's flashlight flickered and died. "No, no, not now," he exclaimed, slapping it against his palm in a futile attempt to revive it. "Just keep moving." Cody hissed, his urgency escalating. "If they find this place, we're done for." Marvin led them forward, fingers brushing along the rough stone walls in desperate search of a way out. The darkness pressed around them like a suffocating blanket, blocking the remnants of light from above. It felt alive, a predator lying in wait for its moment to strike. "We can't stay here much longer," he murmured, the tremor in his voice betraying his fear. The low laughter echoed again, now paired with something else whispers, weaving through the air like tangled threads of destiny. "You can't hide, you can't escape," it slithered around them, stretching the tension until it felt ready to snap. Then, Cody stopped, his silhouette frozen against the faint outline of another tunnel branching off. "This way. I think it leads somewhere," he whispered, hope mingled with fear lighting his tone. Marvin felt a flicker of resolve. Maybe this tunnel would lead them out. The shadows began to thicken behind them, a reminder of the horrors that wanted to consume them. They slipped into the tunnel, gripping one another in solidarity as they pressed deeper. The walls closed in around them, and for each step taken, real fear settled in their viewed as they journeyed down the narrow passage. Marvin's heart thudded hard, adrenaline charging through him. "What do they want from us?" he asked, more to himself than his companions. "What was the deal Cody made?" "I don't know, but I'll figure it out," Cody shouted back, determination lacing his voice. "But we need to act before it's too late. If they're waiting for us," his voice drifted, hesitation lingering. Suddenly, in the oppressive silence, they caught a glimmer of light ahead. It danced like a beacon, a flicker of hope amidst the despair. "There!" Jake shouted, shifting to quicken their pace as they rushed toward it. But as they broke through the tunnel, the hope was quickly snatched away by a harsh truth. A wide, open cavern opened before them, and in the center, figures loomed. The masked hunters, cloaked in shadows, eyes glinting with a predatory hunger. "Welcome back, little players," one taunted, lifting its mask slightly to reveal a smirk barely hiding beneath. Frozen in shock, Marvin felt a chill snake down his spine. "What do you want?" he shouted, his voice high-pitched with disbelief. "Everything you've seen, everything you know, and more," another responded, laughter bubbling forth like a cruel joke. Chaos erupted around them. Cody, fueled by a surge of protectiveness, shouted a warning and pushed them backward. "Run back," he cried, breaking the paralysis. Marvin grabbed Sarah and Jake's hands, pulling them away from the encroaching terror. "This way. We can find another exit." They surged back into the tunnel, pounding footsteps echoing against the cavernous walls as panic reigned. The specters of despair stalked them closely. Their laughter darkened the air like a storm brewing. "What if we can't outrun them?" Sarah cried, her voice thick with desperation. "Just keep going," Marvin urged, determination beating back the fear. The walls squeezed tighter. Every instinct screamed at them to flee. Then, a sudden clatter rang out from behind. The masked figures had broken pursuit, yelling frantically, "You can't escape your fate." In the chaos, Marvin's foot snagged against a loose stone, sending him tumbling to the ground. A sharp pain flared in his ankle, but he had no time to think. He scrambled back to his feet, a wave of frustration bubbling. "Come on," he shouted, voice hoarse. Finally breaking through the tunnel's end, they erupted into a clearing outside. The night was mesmerizing against the backdrop of terror, the moon almost mocking them with its glow. Without looking back, they plunged into the trees, branches snagging at their clothing, the ghosts of their turmoil urging them onward. As they sprinted through the dense fog, Marvin felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. This time, they were determined not to let the dark games claim them. Stay close, Cody commanded, his voice cutting through the fear. But uncertainty swirled around them, shadows lurking at the edges of their vision. Every step was shrouded in the weight of betrayal, a constant reminder of the games they had unwillingly joined. As Marvin raced through the forest, he thought of the paths each friend had taken. In this night of horror, they had learned the bitter truth. Trust was a frail thing, and the shadows could easily mask those lying in wait. But together, they were stronger. Together, they would find a way either to face down the darkness or be swept under altogether. The stakes had never been higher. Each heartbeat was a reminder that this wasn't merely survival. It was a fight for their friendship, their very lives. With renewed determination pushing him through the night, Marvin vowed that he would not let the darkness take them again. A final confrontation lay ahead, and he would see that they came out alive. The laughter still echoed in his mind, but as dawn began to break, the light painted a new horizon, reminding him the game was far from over, but they were ready. Now, the time had come to take control. If you've made it through this intense chapter, then you must subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. You need to show your support. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Let us see what you think is going to happen next. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support keeps the stories rolling and the thrills coming. Join the family today.